Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me, excuse me. I think we're alone now. Doesn't seem to be anyone around. I don't remember how that song goes, actually. I think we're alone now. Do 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 do. I don't think that song goes like that. I'm just trying to get this set up. What the? You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. You're killing me, Smalls. Like, what the hell? Hi, can I read your son's birth chart? Hey, you next? Hold on 1 second. Opening web browser. I'm trying to get this so I can see things. Trying to see things. Trying to see. See or no? Why is this such? What is that? What is that? I guess you can go there. And I will get rid of you. I'm going to. How do I? Can I delete you? Can I delete you? I want to delete you. Remove. Yes. There we go. You, me, everything. Everything, everything. You can all just kiss up into the air. Behind my back, I can see them stare. I'm just getting set up. I'm almost done. I just want to be able to see everything. I want to see what you people are saying. Stop it. Stop it. I want to see what you people are saying, and I want to be able to see the goddamn charts. You feel me? You feel me, homie? You feel me? Okay. You know what? I'll get whatever. We'll cross this bridge when we get to it. If I open up this chart, what the fuck? Oh, God damn it. If I open up this chart, can we see it? No, we can't see it. Okay. Okay. I should have done this before I just got off a reading and I got on this. So like, just bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with me. I'ma delete that. I'ma delete that. I'ma delete that. And we're gonna add another source here. We're gonna add a source. It's gonna be a new source. Add a source. It's gonna be a new source. And there it is. There's our new source. We have a new source. A new pain in the fucking ass now. I think we're set up. Hooray. 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 That'll do, pig. That'll do. You know what? I should have my headphones in. So I can, you know. There we go. Okay. Now we can see the chart. There we go. That's lovely. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, well, we'll get into it, but, the fuck, dude? Get out of here. Cramping my style. Oh, here we go. Well, tomorrow we have Sun conjunct Uranus. So we'll talk a little bit about that in your charts too as we get to some of that stuff. Can we all see that chart? I mean, you can see right now the sun is almost conjunct Uranus. It's going to perfect tomorrow. It's about a degree apart right now. But we've already seen some of the effects come up, Like we had the coronation of King Charles III over the weekend, right on Saturday. And they were pretty close at that time. It was already within orb. And one thing I think about this, because the sun is authority, but it's also like, it's the traditions, it's the ranks, it's the high, lofty things, it's the pomp and circumstance, which, it cost, hundreds of millions of pounds to do this stupid thing. And most of it was paid by taxpayers. But whenever you see Uranus conjunct, there's always some sort of surprise or protest or resistance to the whole thing, because that's what Uranus does. He challenges shit, doesn't he? Well, and he's rebellious and he's unexpected. He has surprises. But while the coronation was happening, we had all these protests right outside with like, abolish the monarchy, end the monarchy, I know I sure wouldn't mind. But it's like all the young folks over in the UK, there's this growing Republican thing. I come from a like Irish nationalist family, so, wasn't raised to be the greatest fan of the monarchy, that's for sure. But it's interesting that we saw this around the same time. King George VI was crowned monarch, his coronation. And you might remember that he was king during World War II. After his brother, King Edward VIII, abdicated the throne. He was a Nazi sympathizer, number one. And he married a woman who had been like twice divorced, So they didn't like that. So he ended up abdicating, sort of in a protest in a way, And there's the Uranian side of it. The resistance to the solar structure of the monarchy. And the sun rules what? Kings, monarchs, rulers, that sort of thing. So anyway, that happens tomorrow. So we'll look at whatever house that happens in for you and see if there's any interesting things. It's also interesting that on Saturday, there was a mass shooting in Texas again. And there was just a mass shooting in Texas 10 days ago, or 10 days earlier, rather. 8 people were killed, military style rifle, of course, AR. And the guy had ties to right-wing hate stuff again. So that's all fun stuff. And the thing that we do also see, we'll see surprise judgments. Like, the overturning of Roe v. Wade, the Dobbs decision, was leaked in May of last year. Well, Uranus was conjunct the sun was conjunct Uranus. So we could see some interesting court decisions come up, in the next few days or whatever. And we've already seen, we had the one trans legislature in the state of Montana, Zoe Zephyr. She sued the state of Montana. That's sort of like challenging authority, isn't it? Challenging the legal authority. And I think we'll probably see stuff around the whole Ukraine thing. It's interesting to see how this sort of happened in the same sign back in the 1930s, 60, 70, whatever years ago. Excuse me. In 1937, we already talked about the coronation of King George VI, but there was also the Hindenburg disaster the last time. Think about that. That's very Uranian, out of the blue. And it's an explosion, isn't it? Sort of solar in a way. Think about a blimp. A blimp floating through the sky. It's sort of like a solar entity, isn't it? And it's full of hot air. But it's not a funny thing. 36 people died, And then in 1939, that's when Germany announced its alliance with Italy. That was a surprise thing. Military alliance. Of course, they said it was to maintain peace, right? Very Saturn and Pisces thing to say. So anyway, I think we're going to see a big push against assault weapons after that big shooting that just happened. I mean, there's they happen all the time now, but right now, there are actually big challenges now happening in Texas. People are pissed. Excuse me. So, anyway. But how does this end up for you? Well, I don't know. Let's look at your chart. So, who is first up on here? Who was first up on here? Wait. Gosh darn it. Wait, where did it go? What is this? Why did I lose? Why does this suck so much? Why does this have to suck so much? Okay. Shannon. Sun's chart. September 7th, 2022. What's with all these people from fucking Poughkeepsie? Jesus Christ. I don't know how to say it, but it looks like Poughkeepsie. Oh, Poughkeepsie. Well, if you want to know about your kids, I'm not doing a whole reading. Like, this isn't full readings, right, people? This is a few transits, and that's basically it. So, which isn't very helpful for an infant, is it? But we'll look. September 7th. Well, what time? Sidereal. I don't do sidereal, darling. I don't do sidereal. No, I can't read it sidereal because I don't do sidereal. Rat eyes. Well, you have to put your information in rat eyes. Oh. Well, first of all, you need to put your son's birth time in, Shannon. And no, I don't do sidereal. I don't. Cassie. Mercury retrograde. Well, he's going to go direct soon. Well, soonish. I don't know the date off the top of my head. Why don't I know the date off the top of my head? Here we go. Gosh, dang it. May 14th. May 14th, that's right. Shannon. Birth time. 11:28. Yeah, and I don't do sidereal because I fundamentally disagree with the sidereal zodiac, and let me tell you why. Because in Western astrology, we primarily got the meaning of the signs from their place in the solar cycle, the alternation between light and dark. Right? And the sidereal zodiac, what they call the sidereal zodiac was the original Babylonian zodiac. And it was sidereal because it was true to the stars and the placement of the constellations at the time. Excuse me. The thing about the sidereal zodiac is it doesn't fix any sign at the vernal equinox, the spring equinox, that is. Excuse me. And the meaning we get of the signs comes from the fact that we fix fucking Aries at the vernal equinox. That's where the meaning of the zodiac comes from. Or sorry, the meaning of the signs rather, right? If you let the signs drift relative to the solstice and equinox points, to me, you lose that meaning. Now, people have argued with me that the sidereal zodiac is the correct zodiac because it's what came first, but it's not true. And why do I say it's not true? Because Francesca Rochberg, the famous Assyriologist that all of us astrologers love to cite and read her book, because she's an academic who studies ancient divination, she said that the Babylonians used a solar lunar calendar, which means it was based on the solstices and equinoxes. And they even fixed signs to particular months. The months are based on the solar cycle. And if you fix signs at months, then you really did create a prototropical zodiac. So people can eat my whatever. I don't do sidereal. It's valid. You can do sidereal. You can get so much information from it. I've gotten great readings from Indian astrologers. They've told me wonderful things. I just fundamentally disagree with some of the tools they use. And it's not to say that we don't need to know about the precession of the equinoxes. It is an important thing. It just doesn't factor into the actual zodiac. It doesn't. So people will have differences of opinion and have different things, but that's my take on it. So. Anyway, well, now you know. That's why, if anyone's seen The Big Lebowski, has anyone seen The Big Lebowski? Has anyone seen The Big Lebowski? Has anyone seen The Big Lebowski? If anyone has seen The Big Lebowski, John Goodman's character, Walter, he converts to Judaism, and he says, he doesn't roll on the Sabbath. He's like, I don't roll on Shabbos. I don't fucking roll. And it's like, I don't do sidereal. I don't fucking do sidereal. Sorry. I mean, just don't. To me, it just loses everything. People will tell me I'm wrong, and I say, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Oh, wait, Shannon, 11:28 a.m. Edit chart. Wait, what was the date? September 7th. September 7th. September 7th. Shannon Kit. Well, okay. Who keeps it? I'm sorry. I'm just gonna keep saying that probably. I hate the fucking echo in here. I'm gonna get so mad at my friend Will because the echo is so bad and the connection is bad because I'm having to be on Wi-Fi instead of hardwired in like I was in my room. So I hope Will's watching right now because I'm cursing him. Thank you, Will, for making my life difficult because now I have to move my desk somehow back into my room by myself. Excuse me, which I have no clue how it's going to work. But I'll figure it out. So anyway, so this is your kid's chart. Scorpio rising. I mean, they were just born. They were born right before the eclipse, and they are Scorpio rising. So the eclipse was in their first house right after they were born, which I'm sure certain ancient astrologers would read that as an omen in some way. It wasn't conjunct the ascendant, though. Well, it's 10 degrees away, right? Like 2 degrees Scorpio. If I recall correctly. If I recall, we both kind of liked it. I said, what about breakfast at Tiffany's? Mars rules the first house and is placed in the 8th. Well, you probably already know he's got Saturn in the 4th house and your husband, or his dad's not in the picture, rather. Excuse me. So we already know about that. Having the first house ruler in the 8th house is difficult. I'm not going to lie. That's a difficult, challenging place. It can lead to depression and things like that in the teenage years. Yeah, just love him because he's got a difficult time with some of that. 10th house ruler in the 11th house, getting help from friends. That can be a well-liked sort of thing, well-liked position, successful thing. He may be friends with some broken people, addicts and whatnot, or people who have mental health issues. Where's Gemini? Oh, 8th house, yeah. Virgo, 11th house. Can you stop making noises, phone? Like, why the... I can't cuss a whole lot because I'll get in trouble, probably. I mean, when you read an infant's chart, can't really do timing. Can't really... Is anything retrograde? Saturn? Saturn retrograde. He's going to have to learn boundaries at some point. Oh, wait, hold on. Venus. Maybe some difficulties with the love life because Venus rules the 7th house. She's not happy in Virgo, but she's in the 11th. So, being friends with partners first, or having partners who come out of your friend circle, perhaps. But still, there'd be something difficult. I mean, maybe bad luck with it, or either difficult partners or just very few, perhaps. And remember, just take all this with a grain of salt. This is just, there's so many different permutations of all these things. I mean, gonna be a bit of a weirdo. I think the dad thing will be sort of a source of pain because, I mean, even if the Saturn in the 4th house is oftentimes a wound around the father. When the father's not around, I've had friends who've had this with fathers out of the picture, And that absence still, it has an effect on them. Uranus opposite the ascendant, definitely an odd kid. Definitely an odd kid. Anyway, he'll be a terrible arguer. He'll probably piss you off. Mars trine Mercury too. With Mercury in the 12th house, there may be neurodivergence. There may be neurodivergence. Excuse me. There may be neurodivergence or depression. But we saw a couple different indications of depression, But I wouldn't trip out about that because, I mean, it's a very common situation these days. And it's very treatable. I mean, I'm bipolar, geez. I do great. Well, according to some standards. But terrible arguer, Mars and Gemini. I'll move on to someone else. Reading timing for him is sort of worthless right now. For just little omen shits and giggles, I'll look at just a couple of progressions. I will check and see if Saturn and or Jupiter go direct by progression ever in their life. So, oops. And you can't see this chart right now, or can you? When I animate it, you won't be able to see it though. Excuse me. Years. Okay. So. Oh. Okay. Well, that's well into his life. But that'll still be an interesting time. 2063. So 63 minus 22 is 41. So when he's about 41, his progressed Saturn will station, oops, wait, no, hold on. It's a little bit further. 2068, sorry, it's 2068. So 68 minus 22 is 46. So I don't know, around age 45, 46, his progressed Saturn will station direct. A lot of people don't have that in their lives. And this will be a big turning point for him. It'll feel like a big freedom, right? Like coming into his own or freedom, I had mine go direct and I ended up quitting a job of 20 years. It was scary as hell because I'd been there for 20 years. It was all that I knew. I started there when I was 18, you know? But it was very liberating and it's been amazing. So, this may be a good occurrence. So, anyway, we got to move on to someone else's. Let's see if you said anything. Jupiter in the 6th house, will he be fat? No. I wouldn't read Jupiter in the 6th house like that. No. If anything, I would read it as actually being in good health, being maybe somewhat athletic. A lot of my clients who have Jupiter in the 6th house, they end up having pretty good health, not fat at all. So, no, I would not say that. I would not say that. Please do me next. Well, I'm doing in sequence, my darling. I'm doing in sequence. Now, rat eyes. Rat eyes. I was doing rat eyes next. Rat eyes. Rat eyes daughter. See, here we go again with the rest of the fucking world doing their day before the month. And thank goodness it was the 27th and not like the 3rd, because I would have typed it in like March 11th. And because there's no 27th month, at least not yet, right? During the French Revolution, they wanted to redo all the months. So. Oh, I'm getting hungry. I'm going hungry. I'm going hungry. If anyone remembers Temple of the Dog, it was Soundgarden and Pearl Jam together. I'm going hungry. I'm going hungry. I love Chris Cornell. I love Chris Cornell. I love Chris Cornell. I love Chris Cornell. It's so sad. It's so sad. We should look at his chart sometime. Chris Cornell. Okay, so here's Rat Eye's daughter. Rat Eye's daughter is 3 years younger than my daughter. Okay. Well, she's got Venus conjunct Pluto. That pops right out. And the 7th house, Jesus. Relationships will definitely be an interesting thing for her. Venus isn't bad in Capricorn, but I have a Cancer Venus, and it's very mushy-gushy. When Venus is in Capricorn, it's a bit of the opposite. It can be a bit hard-nosed, or at least it conceals how it feels sometimes. It's like a thick candy shell, a thick candy shell. It's like a Tootsie Pop. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? Ask Mr. Owl. A 1, a 2, a 3. Oh, 3. And that's the other thing about Pluto conjunct Venus is it sort of devours people, I mean, she may be a heartbreaker a little bit. You see, so Jupiter in the 4th house, typically that's good stuff about the father, but I wonder if dad is married multiple times, or if there's something Plutonian about dad, if dad's sort of like domineering type or something. But you know what? There's reception between Venus and Jupiter. So that eases up on Venus a little bit because Jupiter, that eases up on Jupiter a little bit. That helps Jupiter because Venus is like, hey, you're in my home. I'm going to make the bed for you and you'll have a better time. So I would say that typically that improves the family situation or home situation in some way. Or maybe you had good grandparents. Or maybe the grandparents were difficult and dad was cool. I don't know, but it's probably one of the two. Difficult experience of religion is likely. Night chart, so Saturn is most difficult, and Saturn's in the 6th. Like a sense of endless obligation. Probably, not being able to have a childhood, you know? Obligation, obligation, obligation. Maybe health issues or chronic illness. I don't know. Asthma, things like that could be an issue. I don't know. I'm just guessing asthma because that's one of those sort of things we see in that thing. But well, it's Sagittarius, and Sagittarius more rules the thighs. Can't think of any thigh issues that would be causing anything. But it is opposite Gemini, which is the lungs and it's air and stuff like that. So there's always that sort of thing. Anyway, we should move on to someone else in just a second, but Mars in the 8th house. You should just teach her the value of being frugal and spending and how to balance a checkbook or whatever, handle a budget, how to budget herself, because she might have a tendency to spend money and she might have a tendency to go into debt and put things on credit. So, she'll be a passionate person. She'll be very idealistic. So, Venus square Uranus too. The whole your relationship thing. And I hate to be graphic, but you gave me the chart and the whole human dimension stuff is here. And so when she becomes, at the age where you start doing adult things, she's going to have a proclivity towards unusual things, right? Uranus is involved. She's going to probably, I'm not trying to be weird, but she's probably going to like kink, and things like that, or have an unusual relationship style, maybe polyamorous, maybe, any number of things. Maybe she's going to be gay or bisexual or have gender dysphoria. But when you see Venus or Mars aspecting Uranus, it oftentimes indicates queerness of some sort. Not always. I have plenty of clients who weren't queer, who didn't have that, but but it is a pattern that I've seen. And those of you who know Alan Oken, the famous astrologer, esoteric astrologer who passed away, was it last year or the year before? But he was gay, and he even cited that thing. I am queer as fuck, and I have Mars opposite Uranus, so. And this young lady has Venus square Uranus. But having her first house, she's probably a romantic and she's childlike and fun at heart, but Scorpio moon is really difficult. Really, really difficult. Really difficult. Especially when it's the first house ruler. Especially when it's the first house ruler. There might be health challenges. But, at the very least, some sort of wound around the sense of self. Anyway, we should move on to someone else. But that'll sort of be a struggle. On the one hand, it's sort of a childlike disposition. On the other hand, it's someone who has like the 1,000-yard stare. It's like, you ever see the movie The Client? Was it The Client? The Client? Was it like a John Grisham thing? And Susan Sarandon ends up being a lawyer for this kid who witnessed a murder, right? This is what I think about. It's like a kid who witnessed a murder. Very childlike, innocent, but then they see too much at some point. They see too much somehow. Innocence gets taken away somehow. I don't think they're necessarily going to see someone die or something like that, but some sort of tragedy or whatever. It makes us us. But that's the irony about the 5th house for those of us with 5th house placements, because on the one hand, yeah, it's childlike. On the other hand, it's the loss of innocence too. You see? So let's see if anyone's saying anything. Oh my God. Oh, you mother. Rat eyes. 9:41 a.m. not p.m. Wait. I'm getting my bearings here. I don't know what the fuck is going on. The stream froze. Can I do the first bit again? I don't know what the first bit was. The stream froze. I'm so upset here. Thank you, Lizzie. Yes, please like the stream. Please like the stream. Please like the stream. Rat eyes, rat eyes, rat eyes, rat eyes. Why can't I see your shit? Good afternoon. 9:41 a.m. Wakefield, England. Where was rat eyes other thing? I can't see. Wait. Was it November? Yeah, it was November. November 27, 2016, 9:41. Oh. Why is it still 9:41 a.m.? I should have people submit charts to me ahead of time. And those are the ones I'm going to read because this is supposed to also be like an educational thing, you know? And it'll save on time with all this bullshit of going back and forth and everything else. And losing my place in the chat because then I don't know where we are. I can't see shit. I put the time and place. My guy was born for her daughter's birth. I don't know what that means. Aubrey, I'm sorry. I don't know what that means. So here we are. So Sagittarius rising. So Sagittarius rising with the sun in the first house, Saturn in the first house, Mercury in the first house. All the stuff in the first house usually makes someone feel quite important. So be ready for a daughter who thinks they own the world. But at the same time, they're going to have a codependency issue. So they're going to be the kind of type that probably looks for their value in other people, even though they're going to have this sort of exuberance and maybe are sort of an extrovert and may seem very confident and popular. Deep down, there's a weakness in the sense of self, which causes us to have like this gold star complex. Like, please give me a gold star. Tell me I'm good. And so she's going to have to learn at some point that she needs to find that in herself. And it's not going to come from relationships and it's not going to come from other people. And she's going to be attracted to first house style type men. Mercury rules her seventh house and is unhappy in Sag and is conjunct her ascendant. So she's going to be very intelligent, but probably have ADHD and have a tendency to go for selfish, narcissistic type men or partners. So, but that eventually will be a lesson probably in not looking for her value in other people. And then relationships will get a lot better. So I would also watch out for mental health issues, perhaps. That would be my gist. That would be my gist. Maybe they have siblings. If they do have siblings, they will have rivalries and fights with siblings. And all the stuff about Venus and Pluto still applies. It's still creepy. Still creepy. You definitely have a gold star complex. Yeah. So let's get to the next person. Let's get to the next person. Am I still here? Can everyone see everything? Can everyone see everything? Can everyone see everything? Can you? And she says she loves her friend and wants to marry her. Well, I mean, a lot of kids say that kind of stuff. Okay, who is next? Who is next? Who is next? Aubrey. Aubrey. It says you put in the time and place my guy was born for. Well, because all this shit keeps fucking moving on me, y'all. Like, this is why, you know what, in the future, I'm going to have to ask people to submit their charts ahead of time because this is too much. And it wastes your time and it wastes mine. So, that's no good for any of us, is it? And then I have to pronounce names like Poughkeepsie. I'm sorry. People are probably like, oh, shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Okay, see, and I have a Taurus Mercury. I can't lose my place here. June 18th, 1980. And if you set them ahead of time, I don't have to type all this shit in. I can have it ready to go, and we can just launch right in. See, I almost started looking at Rat Eye's bullshit again. I gotta stop cussing. I gotta stop cussing. That's Biden country. I'm Scranton born. I'm a union man. I'm sorry, I just have to make fun a little bit. Scranton, PA. And then Aubrey dude. Aubrey guy. And this is just going to be Synastry grid really quick. I'm not going to do all this lingering like a, Now I lost my place again. May 7th, 1984. So you just had a birthday. 94. Look at, 84. 84. And I'm also dyslexic. So that's another reason I should ask for charts ahead of time. Because I am dyslexic. What's all that? Okay. Double check again. May 7th, 84. Okay. Let me see what your 7th house ruler is. Venus. His 7th house ruler, also Venus. Wait. Your worst Scorpio rising. Jesus. Lovely. He might be codependent. He's probably codependent. He probably has a codependent streak. Probably has a codependent streak or, very scared to be alone. Also has the gold star complex. I don't see any really difficult things except for Uranus opposite the sun could be conflicts, but his Venus trine your moon. That's lovely. You probably make him feel safe and he probably makes you feel beautiful. Probably lively discussions. His Mars trine your Mercury. Excuse me. Sun trine Mars. That can be good for sex, I guess. Can be good for sex. I usually look for Mars things and Venus things for sexual stuff. Your Saturn trine his sun, that can be good for long-term relationships. His Saturn sextile your moon, that can also be good for long-term relationships. Jupiter trine your moon, again, that sense of making you feel secure, perhaps. Or maybe inspiring you, pumping you up. Yeah, Jupiter trine Venus, that's definitely a romantic connection. You probably make him feel confident and make him feel attractive too. So. Sometimes the Mars trine the sun thing can be healthy competition, like games back and forth, playing with each other. Or maybe you like healthy competition with each other or competing with other couples, or, playing on the same team sometimes, that sort of thing. Yeah, cougar. Oh, gosh. Rat eyes. That sounds like a good idea. It means everyone benefits. Oh. Anyway. Who is next? Oh, it's Josie Humalingua. Josie and the Pussycats. It's my dear Josie. I had a friend at work named Josie. She was a sweetheart. She got really mad at me a couple of times. Josie and the Pussycats. You were born on the 14th of March. That's Pi Day. 3.14159 something. You were born in 94. 94. How old was I? I was in 5th grade. 6th grade? 5th or 6th grade? I was in 5th or 6th grade. Ooh. Where is that? Oh, I must have been in 6th grade because I was 11. I just lost track of your shit. March 14th, 1994. 5:43 a.m. 5:43 a.m. Toronto, Canada. Dude. Oh, Canada, our home and native land. True, sweet love, and all thy sons command. With glowing hearts and gleam. I think every other live stream, I always end up singing, "Oh, Canada," because there's always someone from Canada. Excuse me. Oh, you are in your Saturn return. And Saturn in the 2nd house with Mars. You probably grew up with not a lot of money. You probably grew up poor. And if you didn't grow up poor, it may have felt like you were, or maybe mom and dad always said, there's not enough. You can't have that. There's not enough to go around. You have to share. What? Who's fighting for your life? What's about Brian the Leo? Mind you, you're here fighting for your life? What are you talking about, sweetheart? Wait. Anyway, I'll get to all that in a little bit. Josie. Okay. Oh, your Saturn. Oh, I thought you were talking about literally fighting for your life. I'm a Taurus Mercury. I joke around and then I take shit literally. Well, you're Aquarius rising like me, and you have Mercury conjunct your ascendant. So you are quite intelligent. You probably look at Placidus charts. You're like, no, that's my 1st house. Hey, the first house, Saturn and Mars. I'm sorry, I don't give a fuck that your ascendant is at 29 degrees Aquarius. That's still your first house to me. It's still your first house to me. And you should enjoy that that's your first house because that makes you quite intelligent. Mercury in the first house rejoices, you know? And Mercury in Aquarius, it sees patterns that a lot of us don't recognize. The ruler of your first house is in the second house. So somehow your material livelihood and all that is tied to how your conscious subjective self unfolds, what we call your dharma, right? Your soul, right? Ancient astrologers referred to the first house as the soul. They did. So the first house ruler says something about that. And having a B in the second, it often indicates that the material nature has a lot to do with how that unfolds. And so maybe the sense of developing your own material security. So you don't have that concern or that apprehension and anxiety in the background about how you're going to make ends meet or you're going to get your next meal or whatever, But there's a need to build up your own sense of stuff, to build up your own livelihood, to have your own little empire, right? It probably feels like you never had your own stuff. You had to ask for things from other people all the time. And nothing comes easy to you. With Saturn conjunct Mars, you have to work hard for everything, But things will be more rewarding. I mean, it probably looks like everyone has an easier time than you do. And maybe they do, or maybe it's just your perception. But I'll tell you right now, it builds character. So get the fuck used to it. So, well, yeah, I mean, financial security, that's going to be something that is a big part of how you're able to really get into the things you're more interested in. Jupiter in the 10th house, retrograde though. Things happen later in life. You're still quite young, my darling, 10 years younger than me, 11 years younger than me. So that would put you at 28. Well, you're in your Saturn return. Yeah. Duh. Right. But still, I mean, things won't happen till later in life with the retrograde Jupiter like that. Jupiter rules your second house of money and your 11th house of friends. It's lovely having Jupiter in the 10th house, It's just when he's retrograde. Well, and he's not ill-dignified. So that's another important thing. But maybe as you get older, the money thing gets better, Like I'd say more as you approach your 40s. So, oh, you're 29. Cool. Sweet. Alicia says he, Frankie. Is that HE for helium? That's the first thing I was thinking about. HE for helium. HE for helium. Anyway, so I should move. Oh, you know what? The Sun Uranus thing will be in your 4th house. Same as mine, So there could be some issue with your parents somehow that comes up unexpectedly, It could be an unexpected quarrel. It could be some sort of unexpected news, but it's like, over the next few days, expect random things from your parents, perhaps. So, typing and eating. No, I know. I was just playing because I see HE and I think helium because I'm a nerd. So, because I'm a nerd. And your North Node's in the 10th house, Josie. So, achievement is part of your life direction bit by bit. But yeah, financial stability's, nothing extravagant, but just being self-sufficient is a big part of how your sense of self unfolds. And achievement is a big part of that with Jupiter up there in the 10th house. So let's go on to the next person after Josie and the Pussycat. Josie and the Pussycat. Who is next? After Josie. Josie, Josie, Josie. Oh, Brian the Leo. Brian the Leo. Brian the Leo. Brian. Not Brain, Brian. August 9th, 93. 5:03 a.m. I have to say it out loud. I'm a bear of very little brain. I'm like Pooh Bear. Pooh Bear was a Taurus merger, I swear. Think. I'm very slow, but once I get something, I get it. 5:03 a.m. New York, New York. New York. La, 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 la. I'm spreading the news. I'm leaving today. Sun in the first house is very gay. I mean, not necessarily. I'm just trying to rhyme. Just trying to rhyme. But the sun in the first house is, an overinflated ego. I mean, they often feel quite important. Very, very important people. Very important people. I mean, the first people I think about are my mom and Sarah Palin for the first house sun thing. But they often loom large in their own lives. The ironic thing, though, is that you have, that's not ironic necessarily, but the interesting thing to accompany this is Chiron in the first house, which can wound that same sense of self. It can create the facade of confidence, perhaps, and self-importance. I mean, you'll definitely assert your interest. That'll be important to you, especially with that Taurus moon exalted at the top of the chart. You want what you want. You know what you want, and you want it what you want it. So what you want, what you want. Beastie Boys, So what you want. Anyone remember the Beastie Boys? Paul's Boutique? I think that was from Paul's Boutique. Anyway. So what you want, what you want. But you know what you want. You're probably, what's Cancer? Wow. Well, I wonder if you're interested in psychology. I don't know. I just wonder if you're interested in psychology. Great. Goodness gracious. Or administrative institutional stuff. I doubt you're interested necessarily in prison or hospital administration yet. Although maybe, I don't know. Very important. I lost my train. Oh, this is what I was saying. There underlying it though is a shaky sense of self or a need for validation. I was mentioning earlier the gold star complex. There might be a tendency to seek validation externally or through other people. We all seek a little bit of external validation, but this would be to the extent that we would do it to sort of support our wounded sense of confidence. But see, with Saturn in the 7th house, like that too. Saturn's retrograde, so that leads to people to be a people pleaser because we're really good with other people's boundaries, but not with, we don't even know our own. You see? And having Saturn in the 7th house too, it can make relationships difficult because we don't want to let people in. We don't want to be vulnerable with people. We put up walls because deep down we're afraid, you know, deep down we're afraid of, the breaking up or the whatever. We're also afraid of needing people sometimes. We're afraid of relying on people. Like there's this sense of independence also. Like I don't want to rely on anyone else. I want to do it myself. I want to figure it all out on my own. And sometimes you have to recognize, and you just went through your Saturn return. So, and for your Saturn return, maybe if you were with someone or in a relationship, it got strained. Maybe it got strained because you had a sense um, of independence that had come out, or responsibility, or sometimes we drift apart because we've started to be more independent, take care of ourselves. And then we have to learn to relate again to people in this more independent mode that we've sort of been taking on. Most of your planets are on, what we would call the, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, it would be more than half of your planets are on your what's called the eastern half of the chart. That's the left hemisphere. And that usually indicates people who are more independent, or not necessarily loners, but not clingy, not super relationship oriented. They're self-directed and self-initiating. Oftentimes people say loners or whatever. Anyway, but Jupiter will be going through your 10th house here in just a week or so, and conjoin your moon here, which is pretty auspicious. So I do. Yes, me, I do like that for you. The chances are you probably changed jobs. Probably last year. I mean, at least since April. Probably between April and October of last year. Changed jobs or had a significant career development. Oh, watch out spending money too. I always look out for that second house Mars. Flowing through cash. Money burning a hole in its pocket. Playing pocket pool. Jupiter in the 3rd. Oh, we were just talking about Jupiter going to your 10th house. That's auspicious for career, and he'll be there for a year. So, enjoy it. The eclipse last month was in your 9th house. So you're going through big changes when it comes to, what you believe, your politics, perhaps, your worldview, or, spiritual outlook on things. You're a clingy type partner, though. Even though I said you weren't clingy, you still kind of are. Because Venus in Cancer, we need to be loved. We want to feel safe and secure with someone. We want to be safe and secure with someone. Oh. So anyway, well, there's some good stuff coming up. So enjoy it. I mean, Saturn's going through your 8th house now. So be prepared either for a significant financial loss, or it could be a death of someone. Those are the two most dire interpretations. It could also be you facing your fears and facing trauma that you never dealt with from your childhood. So there are those things too. Fun. The wonderful thing about Tigers is that I'm the only one. I'm the only one. The tops are made of the rubber. The bottoms are made of the springs. The bouncy, chancy, fancy, fun. The most wonderful thing about Tigers is that I am the only one. I'm the only one. Going back in time. Back in time. Back in time. Back in time. Yeah, I'm looking at old comments to see where we're at, and I was just noticing Shannon's thing again. About sidereal. So that's why I don't use sidereal. The meaning of the signs as we know them comes from the alternation between light and dark. It comes from the cycle, the rhythm of the solstices and equinoxes. So Shannon was saying, Mars in the 8th house, is he going to be in illegal trouble? I mean, he could. See, this is why I don't like saying some of these things, because it could be. I mean, that's the most. I would say most likely it would be more about spending money. It would be more about credit. But yeah, I mean, it could be could be criminal. Could be, you see drug dealers with stuff like that. You see, scammers. People who do bootlegging or whatever. I mean, it can be illegal enterprises. Yes, it can be. Will it be? Not necessarily. We don't know. At least I don't know for sure. Those are permutations of these things. I mean, the first thing I would have seen would be dad stuff. That would be the first thing I would have focused on. So, and the fact that the first house ruler's in the 8th house, that always makes me a little worried, about worried about certain things. So, but I would be as a mother, just, the mental health thing, just be there as much as you can. And he'll piss you off because he's Mars and Gemini in the 8th house. He's going to argue. He's going to tell you no. He's going to fight you, especially with that Scorpio rising. So just be prepared for that. Who was after? Oh gosh, Walter. Brian the Leo. Shima. Shima sun. Shima sun. Shima. And again, 09. I have to always interpret it. An American. I'm afraid of American. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of American. Libya. Oh my gosh, you poor baby. Libya is so mad right now. Gosh. And excuse me. About like people literally selling other people and stuff like that since Gaddafi was overthrown. Who, interestingly enough, had done some good things too. I mean, I don't know. Shima would know. I love you too, Shima. I love you too, Shima. Yeah, that was all that crazy business. I think that was 2011, right? Or 2014 or 2011? 2011. Must have been 2011. Excuse me. Anyway, Libra rising, Sun conjunct the ascendant in the first house. So, I mean, you do kind of loom large in your own life too, but not like that Leo person, because the sun falls in Libra, which is sort of funny because we call it the fall, and the sun falls in Libra. You were born pretty close to a full moon. Or sorry, she or he, whoever this is. Okay, sun. Keep saying like it was you. Pretty close to a full moon. So this kid has something to prove. It'll be about manifesting things, but it's also sort of on the disseminating side of the full moon. So there's something critical or critiquing. They're more of a critic, more reflective, perhaps. You can see these people being sort of argumentative also because, well, I mean, Aries moon, but also because they're deconstructing things in their head, right? Whereas on the waxing side of things, like for me, I'm a gibbous moon, which is sort of like the opposite of a disseminating moon. We're like, we have all these ideas of what we could do, what we could do, what we could do. Disseminating moon is like, well, these are how those ideas went. Let me tell you how those ideas went, right? Let me tell you. So, but still sort of close to a full moon, so something to prove, but I see it more going into the disseminating. Excuse me. So now he was just barely born as the sun was coming up, right? So it was just getting light out. So it is a day chart. And Mars is in the 9th house. So I would expect there to have been a difficult experience of religion, being that you're in Libya, possibly Islam, but religion in some way or another. And then Mars opposite Pluto, which can be a violent thing. Maybe he's had to contend with violence, or has had to be violent or something. But at least life would feel like it fights him, right? Like nothing comes easy. Like you have to fight for what you have. Is a battlefield. So there's a sense of fighting. He was born in Libya, but you live in England. Well, he's going to be fighting in England then. I mean, fighting in some way, having to fight for things. Fight, 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 fight. For those of us in The Simpsons, itchy and scratchy. Fight, 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 fight. Fight, 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 fight. So I'm not saying he'll necessarily be violent or something like that, but it's just that experience of life. He might be popular with Venus and Leo in the 11th house. Could be a bit popular. But then he wouldn't feel popular because Saturn's in the 12th house. It's like, no one likes me. No one understands me. I'm so isolated. No one gets me, that sort of stuff. So, but Moon in the 7th house can make us a little codependent too. So he's codependent and yet feels important, Very serious kid, perhaps, with Chiron in the 5th house, maybe serious. So, anyway, we should move on to someone else. He is popular in school, though. Yeah, I'd expect him to be popular. But then I just would also expect him to do like that, no one gets me type thing. No one understands me. Well, what about all those friends you have? Well, I mean, but no one really gets me. Like, dude, come on. Chill out. Chiron in the 4th is terrifying. I read whole sign houses. He's got Chiron in the 5th to me. So I have Chiron in the 4th. I had abusive parents. Well, I mean, what's abuse anyway? It's such a weird word. And they were both alcoholics and had tempers and believed in capital punishment. But he doesn't have a Chiron in the 5th house, according to my reading here, because it would be his 5th house. So I would read that as, why so serious, son? Why so serious, son? Why so serious? Having to grow up too fast, typically. Maybe not wanting children. Maybe having issues around children. Perhaps having issues around children. But oftentimes I see this and I think people who had to grow up too fast, who didn't get to have a childhood, who either had to parent their parents or, started working early or something. Excuse me. For women, it's oftentimes difficulty around childbirth or fertility issues. For men, it could also be fertility stuff or, erectile issues. But typically, it has more to do with having to grow up too fast. It's childhood things. It's the pain of childhood or not having childhood. So you feel he is mature since forever. Well, let's move on, shall we? Let's move. How did you catch it? Brian the Leo. Wait. Brian the Leo. And we did. Why am I so lost? Nostalgia Koala. Excuse me, Nostalgia Koala. Koala. I hope you're still here, Koala. Please confirm that you are still here. Please confirm that you are still here. Please confirm that you are still here. I lost my place again. I lost my place. Okay, 2000. 11 p.m. Tune it. Ah! There we go. Tune not to be mistaken with oneness. Tunus, not oneness. I make myself laugh. That's all that really matters. Oh, look at that. Ascendant flanked by Pluto and Mars. Well, you have fun. You have fun, sweetheart. I'm going to stop reading this chart now because I'm joking. But that definitely is a wild configuration. Well, Pluto's really far away from the ascendant. I wouldn't necessarily call that conjunction, but that Pluto first house deal, it typically disturbs the space around it. When it happens with a woman, oftentimes the other women talk shit about you because you have an intimidating presence, perhaps a powerful presence. And they'll say things like, well, who does she think she is? Like, screw her. That sort of classic shit talking thing. I don't know how people say it in Tunisia, but that's sort of like my exaggerated version of, those of us bitches here. They're like, me included, I do that stupid shit. So anyway, you probably get dry skin. You probably have a little bit of a reddish hue even. You might, Mars conjunct the ascendant can also make for good leaders. It can make people who are able to make quick decisions, to inspire people quickly, to motivate and move people quickly, which is sort of interesting because you also have Chiron there too, And like I said, Chiron in the first house can confer this really, lapse in confidence, a hole in the sense of self, often a lot of self-doubt and this need, as I said before, for validation from other people. The opposite sign, Gemini, has Saturn, Jupiter, and the moon there. With Saturn especially, it tries to make a person quite independent. And then Chiron in the first house does the opposite, makes them codependent. So these things are sort of at odds with each other, So you may have both in you. And bit by bit, you just have to figure out find how to stand on your own 2 feet. Oh, I mean, Jupiter's not happy in Gemini. He rules your first house. That's not bad. Well, it's not good that he's ill-dignified in Gemini. You see, Jupiter goes deep into things, and that's what Sagittarius is all about, going deep into things. Whereas Gemini, it gathers a lot of information about lots of different things in order to, distill a cohesive worldview or whatever. Gemini goes an inch deep and a mile wide, whereas Sagittarius goes a mile deep and an inch wide. So you see why Mercury and Jupiter are sort of at odds with each other, or why, Jupiter being opposite it's, Jupiter being in Gemini, rather, ruling the first house. It also lends itself a little bit to that codependency thing. It lends itself to that codependency thing. Looking for our value through other people. You might have a very honest disposition, though, like very difficult to lie. Anyway, I'll have to move on to someone else, but Jupiter going into your 6th house very soon. This is going to be all about responsibility. You're going to be having to do all the things that you avoided doing, but it's going to be good because you're going to have to get them done. And it's going to make your life better in the long run that you do. But the whole next year is going to be about cultivating responsibility. Could be personal responsibility, could be responsibility in your community, around the house, whatever, but it's going to be about taking care of business and getting things done. So let's move on to someone else. Let's move on to someone else. Cassie. Wait, let me double check what people are saying down here. You're welcome, Koala. You did study psychology in college, buddy. Writing letters to men in prison. Oh, writing letters to men in prison. That's so funny. This is healing. Wow, thank you. Koala said thank you. And who's after Koala? Who's after Koala? Who's after Koala? Excuse me, I'm trying to see who's next. Why don't I see anyone else's information? I see Koala. Did I miss someone? Am I stupid? Don't answer that. Don't answer. What is going on here? No one else? No one else? Who do we want? Someone else. When do we want them now? Wait, can no one see anything? Am I like, what if I open up a chart? Okay, cool. Why isn't the live chat? Why isn't the live chat there? Why isn't the live chat there? Why isn't the live chat there? Open source property. There, you son of a gun. So now y'all can see the chat. See the chat. See the chat. Wait, what the hell, dude? Why can't I see my taskbar anymore? Ugh. Is anyone else here or whatever? Where's the chat? Are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me? Cassie, you? Where's your stuff, Cassie? Why do I not see your stuff? Cassie. Cassie. This is another reason, because I have to find these fucking things. Cassie, you finally got to watch your live. My live on time. Here's Cassie. Okay, May 17th. Okay, your birthday's coming up right when Jupiter goes back into Taurus. Cassie. 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 Are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me? I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Solar Fire. It's such a pain in the butt sometimes. Like, it's the best astrology software, but it's just, I don't know. It just feels clunky. It just feels weird. It does weird things. I say. So, passe in the Manila Metro. Manila Metro. Manila Metro. Manila Metro. Manila Metro. Virgo rising. Born on a new moon. Born on the 4th of July. Oh, wait, no. Born in the USA. So, new moon baby. New moon babies sort of burst onto the scene, don't they? They can be quite naive. You know, it's like they can stir shit up without knowing why. Like, why did that bother people? You know, why did that upset anyone? Madonna's a new moon baby. You know, and she was pretty controversial, remember, in the 90s, late 80s, sorry. I guess in the early 90s too, but especially late 80s, right? And I think if you asked her, she'd probably like, I don't get it. Why was it so controversial? You know, it's just being me. So that's something that we often see with. That's something we often see with new moon babies. I mean, it's a whole ninth house stellium, really, isn't it? When the sun was in the sun rejoices in the ninth house because it's the house of God. And the sun was God, you know, the sun God. And the sun was, you know, the most visible object in the sky, wasn't it? Right? So, you know, the sun became associated with rulers, gods, kings, leaders, all that sort of stuff. And the ninth house, you know, it has to do with religion and God and all these sorts of things. It's the reflective stage, if you will. It's when we think back on what we did. If you consider the 10th house as being action and praxis and what we actually did and manifested, the ninth house is sort of parting from that, where we think back on that. How did it go? And that's why we think of the ninth house as dealing with religion and the unseen world, because it's starting to approach the setting place where things go below the horizon, you see? So having all this stuff up there typically shows someone who's very, very philosophical or interested in the bigger questions in life. But at the same time, they still probably had a difficult experience of religion growing up because Mars is your most unhappy planet, or rather the most difficult planet, because you have a day chart and then is in the 9th house. So often that lends itself to having a very difficult experience of religion early on, maybe even violent, like where people are just aggressively religious and you feel threatened by it even. Oh, what do I want to say? 8th house. Well, so Saturn in the 8th house, I mean, oftentimes it brings a really significant death in our lives before our Saturn return. It can also signify big losses in terms of money or people around us. It can indicate the difficulty with debt or spending habits. Oh, excuse me. So oftentimes there's a need to get those all under control, to create some discipline around budgeting and things like that. I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes there are things. Sometimes I feel I want to get away, want to run away from the pain you drive in the heart of me, the love we share. So Mars trying the ascendant, there's a lot of passion and drive behind that. But Mars just isn't happy. Mars is ill dignified in Taurus. Mars rules Scorpio, so he can't do very much in Taurus. That's why, Mars and Taurus people get this rap for being lazy and stuff because it's so hard for them to get up and get going. Mars is about action. And Mars can be active in its home signs of Scorpio and Aries. Whereas not so much in Taurus. Excuse me. Well, Saturn's passing through your 7th house right now. So if you are with anyone, you're going to feel that get strained over the next few years. And if you're not stuck to one person, separate us from other people because we're getting shit done. But then, Saturn goes into this 7th house and starts making us want to connect again. Or sometimes we start recognizing gosh, who did I marry? What is this? Is this a partner or a roommate? And that can be quite disconcerting. And I think, like I said to a previous person, that we have to learn how to fall in love again. We have to learn how to relate to each other again. And people change all the time, and we should be changing all the time because people are dynamic and nothing stays static. If you're not changing, then you're doing something wrong because no one should be staying where they're at and not developing or changing in some way. So, I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, and we have to keep growing into love together. We have to keep falling into love with each other. It's a process. It never stops. It never stops. Once you start trying to stop and I mean, everyone has to relax, but once you start just sort of giving up, it's done. It's done, 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 done. It's dunesies. It's dunesies. So anyway, any other big stuff coming up? Oh, Jupiter's your ninth house. When Jupiter enters your ninth house, ooh, it should start stimulating this thirst for understanding and knowledge, right? Going deep into new subjects, arcane subjects perhaps, or spiritual subjects. But there's going to be a need to not just know, but to understand. And understanding is about how things relate and interconnect. So you're probably going to rekindle an interest in arcane and occult subjects. And you're going to be craving materials or teachers or sources about all these things. So be aware of that. And it can be an exciting time where you're exploring new things. You're emerging into new understandings. So funny is understanding is really based on our experience of ourselves in some way. As we change, our understanding changes. You know, religion was definitely huge in the family. Well, you've got 4 planets in the ninth house. So yeah, you've never been in a relationship. Well, Jupiter rules your 7th house. So if you do get into a relationship, you're probably gonna want children. You're probably gonna want children. Hello, darling. How are you, Clara Barton? But just yeah, there's a couple difficult things with all that because Jupiter rules your 7th house, and it's great to have Jupiter in your 5th house, especially for children. That could be a lot of children. It's great for romance and love and sex and all that. But Jupiter's not happy in Capricorn because he's exalted in Cancer. So oftentimes, this can foreshadow difficulties with that, with childbirth, with parenting, or maybe an inability to produce children somehow. You see. But then having that be the 7th house ruler too also indicates that you may have difficulty with romantic relationships as well. But that deep down you crave someone who is fun, right? Who can be fun with you and relax, be lighthearted a bit. Um, but at the same time, you want them to be sorry. You want them to be usually good with children, fun, sexual, humorous. Oh shit. I knocked over my computer. Oh gosh. I should not have that there. Oh, I'm sorry. Sexual, fun, enjoying things, going out together. You don't want a boring person. You probably don't want someone just to stay at home with. You want someone to enjoy life and pleasures and stuff, and all that. It's just that, having Jupiter in Capricorn, where he's not happy, makes a lot of those things difficult. And having him be retrograde means that relationships will probably get more fulfilling as you get older, get into your 30s and 40s and such. So, oh, Saturn going through your 7th house, though, too. Look at that. I think we talked about that already. So, all right, let's go on to someone else. Let's go on to someone else. Someone else. Someone else. Anyone else in here? I'm just looking to see who's next. Alicia? No, I don't see any information. I don't see any information for Alicia. I probably already have your chart in here. But we should read for someone in case someone hasn't gotten here yet. Lizzie. Okay, we have Lizzie. You read cards and birth charts, Brian. You have a specific question, Synastry related. Why are you so obsessed with someone? Why are you so obsessed with me? Why are you so obsessed with me? You're obsessed with someone. I'm trying to see who's next here. It's just hard to tell. It's hard to tell. Lizzie. I see Lizzie. And I see. Is there a Lizzie chart in here? Okay. That's Lizzie. 4/3/1980. See, that bothers me that I can hear that. That I can hear that. That means everyone can hear me. All right, and then what's this person? 3, 4. Oh, he's Pi Day too. 3.14159. Let's call him. Does everything have to? I keep hitting the caps lock for some reason. 3.14159. 84 died today at the age of 84. No one's going to remember Tom Brokaw. No one remembers Tom Brokaw. Oh my God. I'm old. I am old. I think I was born old. I was born old. You won't catch me going to Oklahoma. I would get strung up. I would get strung. I would get. Okay, so Venus for Lizzie. Like, I am plagued by Scorpio and Virgo risings. It's like, I swear to God, half of you are all Scorpio or Virgo rising. Except for Pi Day here. He's a Gemini rising. And his 7th house ruler is Jupiter. Where's Jupiter? In Capricorn, where he's not happy. And in the 8th house. So he has not been attracted to nice women in the past. He's not been attracted to nice women in the past. Maybe he's still not attracted to nice women. Maybe you're not a very nice person. But I just see that unhappy Jupiter in the 8th house ruling the 7th. So you had a drag show in your rural town last week. Sweet. I don't like drag shows, but I support them because that's what they're coming after to get me. So, but I'm so glad. I mean, I would go support them just cause. It's just not my cup of tea. But I'm so glad you did that. I'm so glad you guys did that because it's getting really bad there. It's getting really bad. It's getting really bad there in Florida and Texas and Kansas. Jesus, crazus. I mean, everything around the Mason-Dixon line, Missouri, the Missouri Compromise. See, all this stuff is coming back, isn't it? Unresolved things from the 19th century, that that ignited the Civil War in many ways, right? And those things have not gone away. You're always the villain, but you've been a sweetheart to this dude. Okay. Synastry grid. I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it. So this is very nice. I'd like to mention the bad stuff first, though, but I saw the good stuff first. But just to get this out of the way, Saturn opposite the sun is pretty difficult. I mean, he'll experience you as, holding him back, perhaps, or squashing his light in some way. Maybe he'll feel you as like an oppressive burden sometimes. But that's just one little thing. That's one little thing. Mars square Mars, that can be fighting. That could be fighting, bickering, all that kind of stuff. Contentious relationship. But hold on, there's lots of good stuff, so don't get all wacky on me. Cool your heels, chill your jets. Chill. Is Venus square your moon? I mean, that's difficult for several reasons. Usually the moon person feels insecure. Like the Venus person can be quite attractive and everything else, and then the moon person starts getting paranoid that they're going to lose Venus, that Venus will find someone prettier or whatever. So that can be an issue with that. But you see, the good stuff that I noticed right away was moon trine the sun both ways. So your moon trine his sun and his moon trine your sun. This is wonderful for a sense of security, for making each other feel at home, essentially, right? And at the same time appreciated for what you do well. So I just told you the bad, baby. Saturn and Pisces, it gets worse. Yeah, did you see my meme? Because that's what came to mind when I was see, I try and meditate on these things. Well, I sit there and I contemplate them a bit, the archetypes. And what came to me, it's sort of a flash was, I don't know, but I think it'll get darker before it gets lighter. That whole forest is such a metaphor for Saturn and Pisces. I really liked what I came up with Silent Hill, for those of you familiar with video games. It's a fog. It's a fog of the mind that we wander through because we are unwilling to face reality. And so the theme of Saturn going through Pisces is learning to face difficult truths, to face reality, which is, why so much racism and hatred comes up during this stuff, because it's not facing reality. It's learning to blame things. You're blaming things for the situation rather than facing the real root causes. It's why they're so focused on trans people right now and and queer people, because that's a convenient distraction from reality, which is that we're about to face some big financial realities, some big financial difficulties. So, and that the United States as an empire, as a world empire, is in decline. We're entering a multipolar world. And, the Make America Great Again crowd doesn't want things to change, and you can't stop change. One of my mentors told me, told our group, the opposite of war isn't peace, it's change. Because war happens when you don't allow things to change, when you try to hold on to things and crystallize. That creates a conflict. Things are always arising to eventually pass away. When you fight your own passing away, you're fighting the universe, you're fighting reality. And when you fight reality, you will lose, but you will also cause lots of violence in the interim. So that's what happens. The opposite of war isn't peace, it's change. And I've seen that bear out in reality, so I agree with that outlook. So anyway, the sun-moon thing is very lovely. Relaxing in each other's company. And the sun conjunct Mercury, it's a wide orb, but that's still good for communication and all that. Appreciating each other's ideas. Venus sextile, Mercury. Venus sextile Mercury. Excuse me. You see, this is really lovely for shared understanding. It's a shared aesthetic too, appreciating the same things. Oh. Oof, 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 oof. So your Venus conjunct his ascendant. So whether or not this is a healthy relationship, you're sort of stuck on it. One of you or both of you have sort of already fallen in love and fell in love rather quickly. Like there wasn't like an instant sort of attraction, or at least a relatively quick attraction. A relatively quick attraction. And then his Mars is conjunct your ascendant. So it's a lovely dynamic. You fell for him and he wants you, perhaps. At least that's what it feels like. Mars conjunct the moon can be good for getting pregnant. If that's something you wanted. If that's something you wanted, which I doubt you do. Excuse me. But that's a great sexual dynamic. Good for having babies. Venus trine Venus is actually not bad. Can be good for, some sexual fission and friction. Friction, I should say, not fission. His Venus opposite your Mars. I mean, definitely in the beginning, that's so hot and attractive and magnetic. It's like sexual games with each other. But then it can devolve into sort of like not good timing, or it's not necessarily bickering, but it's critical of each other. It's criticism, which I guess can turn into bickering, but it's criticism. It can be criticism, So just watch out for that, but it can be still very fun and sexual. Jupiter opposite Venus, you might egg him on to do things. What the hell just happened? Am I still here? Are we still here? You're still obsessed with this dude? Well, what? That was it? Yeah, you're obsessed with this dude, the Venus thing. Venus conjunct his ascendant. Whenever a woman's Venus has been conjunct my ascendant, they've fallen for me pretty quickly. And I typically fell for them pretty quickly, or was super attracted to them as well. So What time is it? Because I need to go eat. It's 57. It's 57. It's 57. So, oh, Neptune trine the moon can be very dreamy, airy, fairy. Oh, Uranus conjunct Mars. I mean, usually that's like an illicit affair or something scandalous, but it can also just mean things happen rather quickly. But watch out that the candle doesn't burn out too quickly either. You need to see some Saturn. Your Saturn opposite the sun is not good. His Saturn trine your Mercury could be sort of good for lasting something or other. His Mars opposite your Venus can be very good for sexual games, fun stuff. But again, that can also be the same thing where it's like it devolves into the criticism. Devolves into the criticism. But yeah, so there's some good stuff there. You were thinking there was more bad stuff. Well, Neptune square your sun. I mean, your Neptune square his sun. Either you're a liar or he's a liar sometimes. I don't know. Or it could just be avoiding red flags, looking past faults. That might be a problem. So the key thing for this is being honest with yourself and with the other person, but most importantly with yourself. And then with the other person, of course, because you can't be taking advantage, you see here. Neptune tries to it tries to have its cake and eat it too, that's a mercurial thing also. But Neptune is trying to figure out how to keep everything going the way it wants, the way it wants. But there's a fantasy kind of thing. But his Neptune's trine your Mars. That's a little bit, it's like sharing in each other's passions, perhaps. Anyway, we should move on. Who was the one more person? There was one more. Wasn't there one more? I have time for just one more quick. One more really quick. One more really quick. Ashlyn, I'll do. Oh, wait, no, Alicia. I have to do Alicia's daughter. I'm sorry. I have to do Alicia's daughter. Alicia's daughter. Pie Alicia's daughter. Wait, I'm losing my. I got to figure out the thing here with people's birth information. And it's also better if I can not share your birth information with everyone too. Start telling people to submit it ahead of time. I should start telling people submit ahead of time. Submit ahead of time. I'm going to think about that, how that would work. Mars conjunct Venus jumps right out, doesn't it? Those 3 planets there in the 12th house. I wouldn't call it a stellium because they have to be conjunct. But still, that's a lot of focus there in the 12th house, which is not the most fun place to have focus. So she's what? She's going to be 13 soon. So you've probably already been seeing, some of the angst, I bet, right? Excuse me. She probably feels lonely or misunderstood or weird or different or isolated in some way. Maybe she's kind of gothy or alternative or emo or something. Not that I'm not trying to trivialize those feelings, but that's oftentimes how we express it as children. You see? Saturn's exalted, though. I wonder if dad is not around or not in the picture. Absent dad. Difficult childhood. Difficult childhood. Absent father, probably. Or alcoholic father. Could be addiction absent, or mental health issues that were the problem. She's got a really successful thing, though, with, Saturn, the sun in Leo conjunct the midheaven in the 10th house. That's a really auspicious thing to have for success and recognition in some way. She's big on feelings, and her biodata's in the picture. Yeah. She's got big feelings. That's the thing. Got big feelings. So age 14 is going to be particularly difficult. Let's see. 12, 13. And that'll be a Saturn year for her too. Age 14 will be particularly difficult. And it's a Saturn square, Saturn square Saturn. Where's that Saturn opposition? That's a Saturn opposition Saturn. Saturn opposition Saturn. So just watch out, because it will be explosive emotions. It will be a sense of, it could feel dramatic, right? It could feel dramatic in some ways. But she's got this whole, this inner nature. Having the fact that Saturn's exalted definitely helps. The fact that Venus is in domicile definitely helps. The fact that Mars is in detriment or adversity, or what we call exile, that makes it difficult. Right now, Mars rules the first house here. So an unhappy Mars in the 12th house can have a certain amount of mental health difficulties. And that might be where you also get the big emotions in having it conjunct Venus. There's going to be, I shouldn't say that definitively, but there are likely going to be some sexuality things that go on. When Mars is conjunct Venus, it gives a sort of, it can make the feminine nature a bit more masculine. The obvious thing is that she might be a bit passive aggressive and stuff like that because it's Mars in Libra. But the other thing about it is that, it can lend itself to shyness, to wanting to hide ourselves sometimes. Hiding out in fantasy. People who go and want to live in the woods, in a tree, reading books. It can also be mental health challenges, depression, things like that. I'm not just saying this because of my own situation, but, because of the balance of the gender stuff, it could be a certain amount of gender dysphoria or, non-binary stuff. There could be well, I don't know. You would know by now if she had any neurodivergence. So it's something else we see in the 12th house. So some sort of success, though. You don't have that sun conjunct the midheaven at the top of the chart like that in Leo, right? Without something very potent going on there. And then she's got Mercury in Virgo, where domicile Lord and exalted in the 11th house. So there's something probably popular about her, and very intelligent. Very intelligent. Mercury rules the 8th house and the 11th. So, you know, she's able to make connections. You know, she might be idealistic about things. She's got, you know, maybe some big aspirations or hopes. So, add, yes. ADD, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, there you go. Anyway, it's 7:08. I can't go late tonight. It screws my shit up. So anyway, but I love you all. Please, if you didn't like the stream, I will try to go live tomorrow. She doesn't think she's intelligent. Well, you see, that's all the 12th house stuff. That's all that 12th house stuff, you see. So as a mom, you're going to be having to combat that stuff. That 12th house, you know, self-loathing, self-demeaning, you know, I'm not good enough. I'm not, you know, all this, you know, this self-deprecation. Excuse me, you got to pump her up, you know. So, oh, I love you too, Alicia. Thank you. So anyway, so please, yes, like the stream, subscribe to the channel, share with friends. I'm trying to build this shit up, which is why I'm doing so much free stuff. I do readings, which are way better than these, you know, because we take a whole hour and a half. Night, Ashlyn. I'm sorry I didn't get to you, my darling, but you know, I've done you more times than your husband probably has. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Rev T, this is the end, my darling. I will try and go live tomorrow. But I will let everyone know. I will post if I do go live tomorrow. But I've been having lots of doctor's appointments. So I had my nose looked at because I have breathing issues and everything else. So, you know, I have very difficult breathing issues. Anyway, Ashlyn's like, LMAO. Yeah, don't tell your husband that. He'll come after me. So, but anyway, I love you all. And please, please, please keep supporting me in all this because I'm trying to make ends meet. And I'm trying to get monetized on YouTube. And even I bet the moment I get monetized, they'll probably demonetize me for all this shit I talk. So please, I need all the support I can get. I'm setting up my Patreon. And my plan for next month is to have monthly horoscopes for the $5 subscribers to my Patreon. And those would be based on the rising signs. So anyway, so I love you all. Have wonderful whatever you're having, because I'm an international girl and I love, even though I write my dates down in the American format, I love my international friends. So have a wonderful whatever you're having. Subscribe here, like the stream, and follow me on all the other social media bits. And look at my Patreon. It's all in the information down below, in the description, in the video description. So anyway, like I said, I do love you. I do love you even when I'm a bitch. So, anyway, have a wonderful. I love you